You are now listening to a member of the Disney Podcast family. Head over to Disney Podcast Family on Instagram to see all the latest posts for this show and links to other great Disney podcasts.
Well, welcome. I am your host, the Blerd Hulk of the Tribe. I am joined by a talented bunch of co-hosts who knows their stuff about all things Marvel, and I definitely want to make some special introductions to them. Now, we used to be called the Marvel Tribe, and then we had made that announcement that we're switching things up here as a more intimate setting, and we are just called the Tribe. So again, I'm Blerd Hulk. I want to give it up to our co-host. We have is Sam, the podcast princess. I'm doing a cold opening, so you got to bear with me here. But Sam, the podcast princess, give it up for her.
I'm just laughing at the face that Lewis gave when you said that this is intimate.
More of an intimate kind of setting here. I think the Tribe is more intimate than the Tribe.
It is.
So how are you doing?
I am fantastic. I just woke up from a nap, so I'm better than usually when we're recording because it's late in Indiana. But
yeah,
let's go. I'm ready to talk tonight.
Candles only burn so much in Indiana, so they take early naps there. Next up, we have our fantastic Mr. Logic himself, Mr. Lou Knight of. No, I'm not even gonna say it, but we got Lou Knight, Mr. Logic, who always brings us down to earth, 10 toes deep. How you doing, sir? How you doing this fine day?
I am doing pretty good. I am very thankful that you guys threw the Hail Mary to push this as far as we can to give me a chance to watch Echo and dive into it with you guys. So I'm stoked to be here and grateful for the opportunity.
All right, and I know y'all hear that other voice over here. That could be none other than the Blerd Hulk, David. What? How are you, David?
I don't know who David is, but the Blerd Hulk here is doing fantastic. No, I'm good. I'm excited. Anytime I get the opportunity to nerd out with my fellow tribesmate, it's fun. It's been a long day, so I need this. It's like Michael Scott when he played Santa Claus and like he couldn't get people to sit on his lap. Like, I need this. This needs to happen. I'm not forcing anyone to sit on my lap like Michael Scott did. But anyway, let's get back on track. So this episode. Hey,
real quick, though, I think, Sam, you know what you should change your name to for the Tribe? Instead of being the podcast princess here, I mean, we got a cool little nickname that we heard in the show this time. What about Queen Pin?
Queen Pin.
I can be Queen Pin. Can be.
I'm
the only lady hanging out in these parts.
I'm just saying.
And she is kind of vicious too. Like she definitely. I'll tell you what. Like guys, I'm gonna speak for myself. Like Sam is definitely not a damsel in distress. Sam is locked, loaded, and ready to correct a mother. You know what? So Queen Pin is actually kind of suiting for it suits her.
And not only that, you don't do American Sign Language, but you do like witchcraft signs. So I mean, it's in the realm.
Language. You stop it.
So yeah, I like
always call me a witch, man.
Isn't it called witchcraft? Or is there a PC term for witch?
I'm not. What do you guys think I'm a witch?
I don't think you're a witch, but I'm just curious. Is there?
Yeah. You're right. We don't think you are. We know you are.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Look, we don't mess with Sam because we're partially scared of Sam and what she'll do to us. So.
Oh my gosh.
I don't make eye contact with my camera.
Yeah, he doesn't make eye contact. Then I guess I am the Queen Pin here in these parts. Blerd Hulk and Lou Knight are a little intimidated by Queen Pin right now.
Look, and the pin stands for Voodoo Doll Pin.
We understand her powers. We do know, like, if this was a Disney movie, like Snow White, she's playing the Mirror Lady.
Mirror Lady.
I don't know her name.
The Evil Queen.
That's not her name. What's
her name? Her name is the Evil Queen.
Shut up. They didn't even bother to give her an actual name.
No.
Just the Evil Queen. Yeah.
No.
So you went from the podcast princess to the evil queen. That's crazy.
I didn't say
that sounds like
you said that. I didn't say that.
That sounds like I have been on a treacherous journey and I failed as a princess. And now I am like punishing my entire kingdom because of it. And you guys are my royal subjects. So
we are literally doing something we don't do until we get on the live shows, and that's go off the rails. So let's kind of steer this back. This episode is about the amazing drop. And I say amazing because Disney does not just drop all their content at once. And we're talking about the Echo Disney Plus Marvel series here. They gave us a nice little New Year's gift by just releasing all 5 episodes all at once at one time, so we can kind of review the entire story arc and give our opinions and weigh in and everything else. And I kind of get, after watching it, why they did that, because there's some moments where I can kind of see some criticism that would come about from that, but as a whole, in my opinion, I ranked it a 9. So I want to kind of cast it off to you guys as far as your rankings and any kind of brief thing you want to talk about regarding Echo.
I gave it 8.5, and for me, Echo was refreshing because it wasn't like any other MCU content that we've gotten recently, or really like any of the like. It was graphic. It was violent. It was super aggressive, and I was here for it.
Yes, nice, Mr. Lou Knight. What'd you rank it?
I gave it a 7.5. And if I'm gonna keep my Lou Knight style, if you were to drop the Marvel name from it, I would have gave it a 9.5.
Ooh.
I thought it was really good. The way, I mean, this gives me confidence for Deadpool 3 under the Disney umbrella. I thought it was really good. But for me, I gave it a 7.5. And not that there was any one thing that really took me out of it. It was just a lot of little minors, whether it was CG subtles, some episodes had a lot going in it, and then some episodes seemed very mild. It just seemed like if someone made the perfect omelet for me, they forgot the salt and pepper, and that kind of would have brought it full circle. So for me, it's a 7.5, but not for anything big, just too many little minor things that took me out at some points of the story.
So you just said if it wasn't under the Marvel umbrella or the Disney umbrella, that you would have rated it 9.5. What makes the difference there?
Well, one, being Marvel and being the whole, for me, it did the whole Daredevil tie-in at the beginning, which I don't want to say is pointless because it's obviously not, but it felt like we're going to give you it was like, what if? We're going to give you this and we're going to take it right back. Like, that's it. Then I feel like Kingpin was very just mild in this show. And what we saw in Daredevil, what we saw mildly in Hawkeye, I thought this Kingpin was, for me, it was a little too soft of a villain in this show. And I've always known Kingpin to be a little more aggressive. Right. And so for the Marvel pieces, it didn't work. But for somebody that needed American Sign Language, all of that, the native ties, the flashing back and forth, all that, I thought was really cool. But the Marvel key pieces to this show outside of Echo, I felt were a little too laxed. So that's why I was expecting more from those two characters. Not much more, but you lead off with that and you finish with Kingpin. I was expecting a bigger send-off or something to really say that was epic. I think it was a beautiful story for Echo. I think that Echo story by itself is a 9.5. Echo show, though, is a 7.5 just because I felt like there was more teasers than follow-throughs, if that makes sense.
The things that you did not like about it are the things that made me rank it higher. So I loved the cameo for Daredevil because we're getting born again. So they obviously they were setting up themselves for a layup there. And Kingpin is the route to do that. So when you have Kingpin as the villain as a show, obviously you're going to be able to use the Daredevil cameo as a layup to promote a new show that's coming. Mm-hmm. But I love the fact that we got to see that villains have weaknesses. We got to see the human heartstrings of Kingpin, which we've not seen. He's a ruthless savage, like every other time we've seen him. Mm-hmm. And we got to see, oh, this man does have a weakness.
There's a human right there.
Which means he is not unbeatable.
Correct. So
I don't disagree with that, and I don't mean to cut you off, but how's the saying go? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I just felt like there was, like, I get a weakness, but at the same time, I felt like, at the same time, I mean, how many chances? I mean, she already tried to kill you once. She almost tried to kill you twice when you thought she was coming back. So now you wait for a third time. I just felt like that was a bit much, and especially for, I mean, like we said, like we mentioned it in What If. I mean, obviously, Peggy Carter being the hero that she is, mm-hmm. It wouldn't do it. So him being the villain that he is, mm-hmm. You give her that many chances, like, and then not only that, the way you climax with that is very mild. I would have liked to see some type of rage out of Kingpin before it's like, hey, I am going to beat you with the Ancestors team up, which I thought was well done. I have nothing against that. But, like, every time she went up against him, it was like a super mild attack, and then he either fell back into his soft spot or he lost. And I just felt like that was, for me, that was a pretty weak approach for that being against Kingpin, who is going to be the villain of this, I always forget the name, Hell's Kitchen kind of area. And I really feel like that did him no justice for the villain that he is.
Well,
all right.
Think about being a parent who wants to teach their kid a lesson.
This is where I'm kind of leading into. So I don't think it took away from Kingpin. I think it added a layer to Kingpin that we haven't actually got to see. Now, Kingpin is, no matter what, to his enemies, he is ruthless as all can be. He shows no weakness. He gives no inches. He doesn't do do-overs. And we saw he doesn't really, I mean, he would beat you to death if he thought you blew in the wrong direction and stuff. But with this family element, Kingpin, this is family. I don't care if she has a real father. Kingpin adopted this girl so much so he killed her father to be her father. That there's a narcissistic
his attachment to her is unhealthy.
Psychopathy with that and stuff. So it makes total sense that he would give her all the chances in the world to defy him and to do everything else, because this is his daughter, like flesh and blood. Like no stable person would ever, you hear that term like, oh, you can't replace my dad. You're not. He didn't come in to play stepdaddy. He literally killed her father to be her father. And he was prepared for her to kill him. Beat me to death with my hammer. I told you that story, how doing that changed me into who I am. I see that potential in you. I'm not giving up on you. Here, have at it. And she wouldn't do it. He's going to always give her all the chances. Like Sam says, this is his weakness because of that and stuff. But don't let that weakness fool you against his ruthlessness, because he is. If your name is not Maya Lopez, Miss AKA Echo, you get no quarter with him. You come after Maya, he's coming. I mean, this guy showed that in a very psychotic way the death of his love for this lady.
And not only if you come after Maya, but if you try to keep Maya away from him.
Yes.
If you are on Team Maya and are keeping them apart or trying to fight against him with Maya, Maya's safe.
Yeah.
Maya just doesn't understand what she's doing because that's his Maya.
Correct. And
everyone else is a facilitator of Maya's confusion in his disoriented reality. He's batshit crazy. Like
he's playing what I call is cheater checkers with Maya. And what I mean by that is he's willing to let her go home and just kind of do her thing, get her shit together so she can come back. Well, she doesn't come back. That's the game. He's making chess moves. Well, if that doesn't come back, if she doesn't come back from that, I don't get to sit down and have that family dinner with her, and I don't get to do this, then I'm just going to remove her family out of the picture. I'm going to cheat at chess here because that's who I am. He wants what's best for her, but he thinks what's best for her is to be a mini version of him. He doesn't see it any other way. That's why he can't even bring himself to kill her. He would erase her grandma, her entire lineage. So she is solely dependent upon him and stuff. And because he believes he has the ability to bring her back in. And the more hurt he does onto her, the more of her villainous side comes out and shows and stuff. And he's not wrong. You hurt her. She's not necessarily making good decisions and stuff. She's not in the right mind. I mean, she's not a hero, so to speak. She wouldn't fit on the Avengers and stuff. She is literally like a Deadpool. She really, depending on the motivations and what is done to her, she is reactionary and explosive. And he knows that. So he pushes those buttons all the time and stuff. And when he got fed up with it, he was prepared to wipe out her entire lineage just to get her back on his side and stuff. That's how. So I thought it added another layer to a ruthless villain of Hell's Kitchen who, is, he's a Spider-Man villain. He's a Daredevil villain. This guy earned his villainous title because of that. And then this adds on, like, even the soft version, the one that has family, it's still not a okay version and stuff. There's no piece, and this is all my opinion. I'm not saying this is a fact and you need to think this way, but in my opinion, there's no piece of this softer side that says a good person, a loving father, caring. All this says manipulation, gaslighting, love bombing in a very effed up way. Like,
you are my property, Maya Lopez.
Yes, yeah. So I thought it added a new layer. I like seeing that layer kind of unfold with Kingpin, and as that relationship unfolds, like, because honestly, if Kingpin was just a villain, if Kingpin, was just, I would have been mad and said, you know what? Why didn't you just kill her when you saw her? As soon as you got her, or have your henchman. He knew his henchman can't defeat her. She's badass. But just offer, pull the trigger, because he has no problem doing that and stuff. But there was something more there. There was that pause, and we got to see why that was. He really believes in his sick, twisted mind. This is his daughter. So that's my part when it comes to the Kingpin of my of this little saga that we have. So with that said, we're not going to do a play-by-play because it's 5-hour long show. So we're just going to kind of talk about some pieces and parts we like, what we would change, what, if there's any standout characters, like for me, I'm a big fan of Biscuit. Biscuit
Absolutely.
Was a very standout comic relief that I didn't know I wanted. And I missed and stuff. And that dude, I want to see more of him. I mean, yeah. So I think Biscuit was, for me, a standout character on the whole series and stuff. And I know they've tried in previous shows and stuff to kind of build that, like in the Miss Marvel, the brother was supposed to be kind of the funny older, like it didn't work. The cousin, I mean, Biscuit, just watching the scenes he's in, watching when mom, he borrowed the truck and he wrecked it, and he's slowly driving by, and he makes eye contact, and it's like, oh shit, and kept on driving by. It's like, what are you? Oh my god, like I
fully agree.
Yeah, so I'm a fan of his. The way he delivers, I won't say his lines, but the way he acts is very, very, very good.
His cadence. I agree entirely, and I love the fact that he's kind of like got this like chicken shit, like, oh, grandma's gonna be mad mentality. But when it comes down to doing what needs to be done, man is balls to the wall. He's like, we're jumping on. He's like, you need me to get to this train and like get you off of it while you're flying through midair. Like, I got you, Maya. He's a real one. He's a real one. So I agree. Biscuit was a standout for me.
I like Biscuit. I also like the I'm assuming he's the grandpa since he was dating Chola, however you pronounce her name. The repairman.
Yeah, Scully.
That is her ex-husband. So after the daughter died, they got a divorce.
I like Biscuit and I like him. Mm-hmm. This show for me, I think, and I really liked a good amount of the characters, but I also felt at some point there was too many characters. Where for the 5 episodes, they really didn't give enough time to. For instance, I felt like Bonnie played a key piece, but then they never really built Bonnie up. And like they're like, if her heart breaks, she's gonna be broken. But then throughout the show, she gets kidnapped, and I feel like Maya's love for Henry was thicker than her love for Bonnie or Bonnie's love towards Maya. I love the cultural aspect they put in it, but I also feel they did mild justice to that storyline. I wanted to hear more about this past life. Mm-hmm. They did it in episode 3, I think, where they started off with like a WandaVision type, and it was interesting, but I felt like that story was so thick that they didn't give enough time to really deep dive that. And then when they announced it in the final season or the final episode, mm-hmm. kind of how it worked, I didn't resonate with it well. When Maya fights Kingpin and all the different centuries of basically her family timeline, mm-hmm. I thought it was cool. I thought it was really cool looking, but I didn't resonate with it like, say, when, not to make a Star Wars reference, but when like Rey hears all the Jedis when she's fighting, and you grew with them in each movie. These characters, I thought it was really cool, but I didn't get emotional about it. Like, oh, here they are. Like, because I felt like they didn't unfold each layer of that appropriately. I feel like the WandaVision one, we got a lot more in depth with that episode than say the opening of, hey, we're in the water, the roof comes in, we turn human. And I felt like that story was kind of shortchanged. But for this show, there was a lot of characters that I felt hit home. And there was a lot of characters that I feel they didn't do them a disservice, but they didn't do them service by giving them a little bit more oomph in this show, if that makes sense. Kind of a long-winded answer.
So for me, like, it took me a while to even get to the point of realizing that, like, Maya's mom also had this ability. Mm-hmm. I didn't figure it out until she was healing the bird or the woodpecker.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. I wish we would have gotten more, but I also think that they rolled it out slow to us to introduce us to the character, because this is not like, you could give us a film out of this. You could give us another season. So I think they kind of just gave themselves the space where we have the introduction to this, and we're like, well, what does it mean? What are her powers? Where did her powers exactly come from? Like, how did this happen? Because now I want more. So I'm sitting here wanting more. The 5 episodes was not enough. Mm-hmm. So, and for me, getting all 5 episodes at one time was not something that I particularly enjoyed. But at the end of it, being able to say, well, I want more, was satisfying.
I agree, but I will always take binge watching over a drip. It's just my addictive whatever when it comes to consuming what I want to consume. So, but I I took a different take when it came to the reveal of her powers. It was almost kind of how I kind of hoped the Black Panther powers were to be kind of revealed. There's this royal bloodline lineage and stuff, like especially in like Black Panther, where you channel all of the ancestors and stuff, and you get all of the wisdom, all of the fighting styles, all of the skill set of that, but their connection to that was through that heart-shaped herb. In this particular situation, Echo's connection to her ancestor is through her bloodline. Like, you know, like you said, mom had that connection as well. She may not knew, and this is the piece I actually like, even through the dreams and those premonitions and stuff, they still didn't really understand what that power was. Maya was the one who actually brought that power more alive and more in her, more to reality. So I kind of like the fact that it's new to her too. There's this discovery that we, the audience and her, are both making and stuff. And she's now just starting to kind of come to grips to it, but she still has a lot more questions. Like like you said, I would like to see more. I would love to see her meet with Doctor Strange and they kind of flesh out this power base with her and all this other stuff. So,
and when the grandmother shared the story, it made me twice as like the grandmother. I didn't really sink my teeth into that character until the very end, and then it made me dislike her more because it's like, if you know this is a thing, why did you just see Amaya? Like, if you knew her mother had it and it's such a ancestral thing, why did you just like? And I get that's kind of the emotional disconnection that she had, but it kind of did a disservice to the grandmother, because one thing that I'm familiar with, especially the Native culture, you don't let outside influences change who you are. So
I don't think it was an outside influence. I think that she was shameful.
No,
because of the way that she addressed the situation with Maya, and she basically said, "Y'all can go."
No, but she let the husband, the dad of her daughter, you have to go. She let that outside influence of him saying that he killed her. That's not something that would have happened. First off, banishing him and the grandchild. Like I said, I'm not fluent in it, but everything I know about Native culture, you're not doing that.
No,
that is
but
a
grief
healing
does weird
process.
things. Grief does weird things.
It does.
So for me, don't hate me for saying this, guys. Don't hate me for saying this.
Oh, I'm so
ready. In the Power Origin story, it reminded me a little bit of Namor.
Of course.
Stop. It's true, but Namor's the first mutant, right?
Yes.
So Marvel is taking us, or the MCU right now is taking us in a direction where we're moving away from how people got superpowers through external forces, and we are now being introduced to mutants.
They're born with
it's their DNA.
It's in their DNA, yes.
So I like the way that they set it up for us that way. Because Maya's a mutant.
She is a mutant by the logic and definition of what mutants are. She is. She's very much a mutant. Her mom was as well too. To kind of go off of what Lewis was saying about the grandma, I do dislike the grandma. Only because I think in that situation, for me, no matter what disagreement I have with someone marrying my daughter or whatnot, if there's a grandchild involved, I see myself not doing what she did. Now, I also have to realize I also don't know really what I would do if I was grief-stricken. We all know that people who are grief-stricken don't act in very the normal ways that they would if they weren't otherwise. You know what I'm saying? They don't act in. They may make some mistakes that are very tragic and stuff. That's why it's real. That's why seeking counseling and seeking help is a big thing. A lot of people who are grief-stricken, they turn to the bottle, they turn to drugs, they turn to other things to dull that pain any way they can. So I want to give Maya's grandma a little bit of empathy just on that. But I agree with you. It did not do me watching that story unfold. any favors for liking her at all because of that and stuff. Because I believe in my heart of hearts, I could never just turn away my grandchild. I would do everything. I may hate the son-in-law, but I will do everything in my power to keep that connection.
Absolutely. And not only that, so it's 20 years has passed. I think there was a timeline they said of 20 years from when she left till now. So within that 20 years, you're the grandmother. You do not reach out. And yes, she may be still grieving, but there's an obvious sign that she still wants to stay connected to the family because the house was untouched the way they left it.
Yep.
So you don't touch that house and you don't contact. For me, those are like contradicting yourself. You don't want to contact them, but you don't want to change them either.
That was where the shame came in for me. She knew that what she did was wrong, and she was too prideful to be able to make it right.
Yeah, and so for me, the grandmother, I didn't really care for her character at all, really, except for that opening scene when she banished them, so to say. That opening scene was marvelous. You could see it on her face. The rest of the show, I could have did without her. I could have did without Bonnie. As much as I know we needed Kingpin's evil henchman for that scene, the henchman and the skate hitman that's like, I'm watching, setup, that setup was just weird. If you're a hitman and you know that Maya's in there, why are you taking your sweet time with apparently like 45 dudes that showed up because they're just everywhere? Why didn't you like have the place surrounded? Like that whole, what's it called? Fisk? That whole Fisk storyline in this show? Yeah. You could have missed me with that. I know you needed it to kind of, but it was, I mean, you blew up the armory. That seemed like such a bad scene, and then it went nowhere. Like, okay. But then there were a lot of characters that I feel like you needed more of. Biscuit, you needed that comedy consistently in each episode. You really did. Henry, I thought Henry was a really cool character. I love the way they developed him. I thought the music he played in the skate rink really played to the vibes of the entire show. I really enjoyed
and he's a badass too. Like he doesn't play the FAFO game. Like
yeah. So I mean overall, and then Scully was a good character, but there were some characters that played a bigger role than I think they, for story wise, didn't need to deserve. Ricky, the skate king, nah. What are you there for, man? And then the two hitman girls that he had to back him up. That whole scene was like, you could be doing so much more with this than this.
I felt like I was watching that Orbit commercial where it was like, you lint liquor, dirty mouth, clean it up. That's what those girls reminded me of.
Yeah. No, I get that, and that's fair. But I do want to say this. So I think because of how the grandma was introduced, if grandma was just a grandma that we all expected, Maya wouldn't be the person she is. She wouldn't be. There's no way. Maya's a broken person, and we got to see firsthand why. You had to. It's like, all right, we need to paint a grandma who is not a great human being and stuff, and who may had good intentions, but her actions and her mistakes and stuff produced this. And they literally helped produce, Maya felt thrown away. You couldn't have got that any other way. Kingpin would never got his hooks into Maya. And as much as we want to say about how Dad was bad and, he was into the life and stuff like that, the pain that she felt, the hurt she felt, wasn't from what her dad was doing to survive. It was the shunning of grandma and, feeling like she was thrown away and stuff. And that's who she was. So I liked that it exposed that and stuff. I think it would have been odd if she left and grandma constantly tried to pursue things, and then it was Dad who was keeping her away and stuff like that. I don't think Maya would have had a believable kind of villainous story upbringing and stuff if that was the case. If grandma was good and Dad was the one who was, the abusive, neglectful, all that stuff. No, Dad was trying his best, and Maya saw that. Grandma was the one who was the catalyst for who she is. And so in that aspect of it,
Kingpin never would have had access to her for this story to develop, for her to become who she became and what she became if Grandma had been there.
Yeah. Agreed. So as much as I hate her, and I do, I think that was done purposely. Her character was designed to be that way. I think she was necessary for the show and for Maya's arc.
I don't disagree, but I do. That's why I wish Disney would have made this season a little bit longer to flush some stories a little bit more out. I don't know where their consistency is coming from. Like, this is a 5 episode, this is a 7 episode, this is a 9. It's such weird numbers. And then and side note, and I don't mean to take this too off the tracks. What was with that intro? What is Marvel Spotlight?
So
they made that stand out a lot this show, and I've never seen that before.
So here's why I thought where they were going with that. So just like with Werewolf by Night, anytime they do something a little bit different, they have to kind of create a new delivery mechanism for it. So Marvel Spotlight would be like a one and done type of situation if they're making a series of kind of a small series, a small storyline. The Marvel, I forgot they call it for Werewolf by Night, a feature presentation. That's a one story movie for Disney Plus content. So I think they just introduce a new way they can deliver other stories from the Marvel universe. If they need to have like a longer story arc, they can now do that with this Spotlight. If they need a one and done, like a very short story, like Werewolf by Night, something obscure that's no ties and no connection, they can do feature presentations and stuff. So I think they're just kind of expanding on the Marvel playbook there for their content.
That makes sense. Yeah, I really, I'm a fan of all the episodes at once because, like I've said before, it was basically a movie, and I think timeline it was like 2 hours and 45 minutes, which wasn't bad. I mean, I wish it was longer because we would have had more story development, more character development on some things. But again, I don't know how the people at Marvel choose their. Hey, we're gonna let's give it 6 episodes this time. I don't know how you figure that out, but please get us some type of consistency because, man, this one needed it. This one really needed more episodes. And there are some shows that people like to say, like WandaVision, everyone's like, you could do without the first 3 episodes. I don't personally think so, but you hear that. The first 3, I was checked out. But I don't want to know how Marvel picks do they just like, Price is Right? They spin a wheel and they're like, this one's going to be 7. So one of the things I am looking forward to because of this show is the Daredevil show. I can't wait for that to come. A couple things that had happened in Echo that I really makes me want to see more of Maya Lopez's character. One is the fight scene with Daredevil, and I think there was a purpose for that and stuff, which we're going to see pay off in the future because it's also going to explain her powers even more. And what I mean by that is Daredevil now has no chance of beating Maya ever again. And I don't want to spoil that, but I will stand 10 toes deep by saying that was a one and done chance for Daredevil to beat Maya. And if they walked away from that without him getting a win, you don't get second chances with Echo. So I will give you that. But you know what else I am very mad that we're probably not going to get, and I thought they shortchanged it, was Ronin.
Yeah.
I thought they shortchanged Ronin in Endgame, and seeing this now, it's like, I get it. He lost his family, but what made him go all the way to like Hong Kong, Tokyo? Like, I mean, did you team up with Vin Diesel and you're traveling the world? I want to know more about Ronin, and this one gave me that.
Vin Diesel?
I mean, because that story. I mean, Ronin. I mean, I'm not familiar with the comics, but when people heard that we were going to get the Ronin version of Hawkeye, I started doing mild research, and it's a pretty big character. And we got him in Endgame, and then he was back to Hawkeye. Kind of like Hawkeye being taken over by Loki in Avengers. He was dark for a split minute, and he's back. It's like I want a Ronin series now to give us more. Let that fold out some more.
I do, but I want Maya to be Ronin. Maya played Ronin in the comics too.
Yep.
And if you not read that story arc, she was amazing and better than Hawkeye as Ronin and more vicious, like full on and stuff. Like, I mean,
you can already tell the difference. And if you just look at Maya and Clint, and like Maya has superpowers. Clint is Clint.
And Clint was operating from grief, and they talked about briefly, and a lot of people miss this. He stole the hit list from, not the hit list, but the watch list from S.H.I.E.L.D. And that's why he chose that to go after those people throughout the globe and stuff, because he was dealing with this pain. Like, fuck it. No one's left, and I get carte blanche. I'm off the chain. I don't have to, there's no more justice. There's no more law. Oh, and guess what? I now have the entire hit list dossier that S.H.I.E.L.D. has for all of these villains throughout the world. I'm going to go on a killing spree.
And
that's exactly what he did.
This is my thoughts on it. Like, so his is grief. He was a man that was hurting.
Mm-hmm.
Maya has what should be grief, but she doesn't give an F. She is cold-hearted. She doesn't have emotional attachments to people. Like, Bonnie is supposed to be like, someone she is supposed to care deeply for. She doesn't care. I mean, we saw a little bit more of a connection, but honestly, some of that was manipulative too. A lot of that was manipulative. She is able to turn her emotions off, which to be Ronin, you turn it off and you are a stone cold killer. Clint Barton could do that. He does that a little bit, but he's still human. He doesn't have the supernatural powers that she does. And he's still operating out of grief, which is human emotion. Mm-hmm. He's not completely dead inside, which is why we've seen instances where he takes off the costume and he's like, that sigh of like, what am I doing? You're not going to get that from Maya. Maya's like, it is what it is.
Oh, and there's no family members to snap back for her. I mean,
but in a way there is, because that last ending scene with her, Bonnie, Grandma, I mean, she could have left. I think if they would have seen her on the motorcycle and finished up the season with her just bailing out, would have sealed that. But her going to like the family barbecue, obviously there is going to be some emotional attachments now, because they really made that seem like I would have been okay to seal that story you guys just shared if she hopped on the motorcycle and bailed out. Like, the job here is done. I am gone. But instead, she went to the family barbecue.
That's her. But yeah, that would be her running away from her problems. She's not running away from her problems.
But it would be also the no emotional attachments. I mean, her going back with her family now, that's going to become an emotional attachment.
Not so much as emotional attachment, because we saw her. I mean, she formed a real family bond with Mr. Fisk, with Kingpin. Still managed to kill people. Still managed to. I mean, this is who she is. She has her own who she is. She can't change that. That's
programming.
It's a part of who she is. It's like Black Widow and stuff.
It's like the Winter Soldier, but without the extra hardware.
If I had to describe her personality, and it's not, I'm not trying to cast her personality, but put her in a class of certain heroes, it would be that of Blade and Deadpool. Like, she's evolved to embrace her family now, forgive them, to move on and stuff like that. But she's still a killer. Don't let going to the family barbecue fool you. She's capable of, now she has these powers. She may go on a quest. She can't really go back to just, Hell's Kitchen and stuff, because, that's put her back in mix with Kingpin. So I think, I'm going to be honest, as we talk about this, I think Ronin, the character, would be perfect for her to play that role and stuff. I mean, hell, she can even end up fighting, Shang-Chi and are being a part of the Avengers, or doing not a part. She wouldn't join the Avengers and stuff, but doing a mission stuff, kind of like Black Widow did and stuff, for Nick Fury or his replacement, or there's some potential for this character to grow, and I think Ronan, the character, would be great for her to take that on. It doesn't overshadow Echo. It's just another persona for her, because Echo got exposed. She can't really be in Hell's Kitchen anymore with Wilson Fisk. But that's just my take on it. I can see her definitely doing some damage as Ronan. She'd be a lot better at it because of her power base. I think I can see her seeking out Doctor Strange, to the wizard in New York, to help her understand her powers and what's the totality of that. Maybe she goes to Kamatage to learn a thing or two about herself, but ultimately she realized she's a lot further than what their help can give. She can go out in the world and just do what she wants to do, or what she feels she needs to do. And she's like Deadpool. She doesn't care if she kills she doesn't care. All she cares about is the outcome. So if she's on a mission, the mission comes first.
I hope we see her evolve that, but at the same time, I could be wrong on this, and I hope I'm wrong, but I got a really bad gut feeling that we are going to see mild tidbits of Maya. Okay. But I feel like, I don't know, there's just something saying that this is probably going to be the last time we see her being the main appetite of something. Okay. I'm not saying we're not going to see cameos, but as much as it's going to suck to say, I feel like we are going to see the Daredevil season come out, bring a lot of this to head, and then kind of just, I don't want to say forgotten, but definitely not used in a way it could be used. And I hope I'm wrong, but there's just something that about this show, the way it ended, I don't know. I would hope that they don't do that, but I don't see us revisiting Maya's story in depth probably ever again. And it really sucks to say, because this thing had a nice dark side to it. And I think Disney, if this has the dark side that I wish we would have got from Secret Invasions that we did not get.
I agree with that.
And so I feel like we're not going to get more of this. And that's kind of heartbreaking, but I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't know. Something gut-wise tells me this is the start, middle, and end to the Maya story, outside of her cameos probably in Daredevil.
Okay.
I feel like we're going to get more. I think we're at least going to get a second season of Echo.
Sam did hit something when she talked about Namor, and it just kind of dawned on me. It would actually be kind of perfect if she found her way, because we never saw.
She reminds me of Namora.
We never saw this version of this multiverse version of Professor X, and now we got Deadpool and we got Wolverine, and more mutants are coming out. I would love to see a cameo of her teaching at some unnamed school. She's doing, ASL, and there's a young mutant student who doesn't speak, and the teacher happens to be Maya. And that for me, that'd be a satisfying thing, that she's a part of the X-Men in teaching at that unnamed school.
As far as her energy and fighting style goes, though, she reminds me of Namora.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Here's the thing. I think Namor. I hate saying this. I think Namor would beat her and kill her. Unlike Daredevil, who gave her a chance to escape. Now, if she managed to escape the death clutches of Namor's done. I mean, he better not come out of the water and stuff.
But here's my thing. So, if there is a water connection to her that we don't know about, imagine how the Echo sonar stuff would work. She's like a flippin' dolphin in the waters.
She could be his love interest, and she could be the queen of the Talakans and stuff.
She could be the one to get rid of him and become the new leader of Talokan.
Take his,
but we don't know if there's a water.
I would hate that storyline, because that means we have to get more Namor.
Stop. You know we're getting more Namor.
Hey, at least it was
Namor.
a different actor.
We're getting more and more. We're getting Fantastic Four. We're not done with those characters and stuff.
Oh my gosh. I am so if we get like Fantastic Four, Namor comic book storyline.
You really want the F boy storyline for Namor?
No, just some there's I mean Namor and Sue. Kind of. Yeah. No, I don't want that. I do want to see him have beef with Reed Richards. Because they both have pretty decent sized egos.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be a good storyline there. And I kind of like the whole how he's discovered. So if they have to replace the character, most likely, right? We don't know the full details of the trial yet or what's happening with his lawsuit and whatever. But if they go the route that they went in the comic books, he's discovered on Earth and doesn't remember who he is.
Yeah, he
replace a different actor.
He has amnesia, and it's not until he gets brought into the water that he regains who he is. Yes. And
they remember who it's Reed Richards who figures out who he is and throws him back in the water. And then he's like, I'm the king of Atlantis. Now I hate Earth. And that's a great way to replace the actor and stick to the comic books.
We don't need to follow the comic books all the way. We can make Namor homeless, amnesia, and we can bring him by water, but never throw him in.
Oh my gosh!
Just like that, he's just a homeless person, and that's it.
No, because then you don't get the battle between him and Reed.
We don't need it.
I was just gonna say, we don't need to follow the comics, but at the same time, that story seems so complex, and having to think from how do we integrate?
I like complex.
We do, but the average moviegoers paying the dollars to see the movies, sometimes too complex, tells them you're trying too hard. I have Marvel fatigue, so you really got to baby step some of that stuff in there. And I feel like
for sure
the average fan buying movie tickets, if Namor was to be with the Fantastic Four, they'd be like, great, they're just crossing everybody over.
No, that is for sure happening. Like, he is going to be with the Fantastic Four, and they're just going to have, it's going to happen.
I don't see it happening. If I'm being dead honest, I think Marvel unless they baby step that around, I think I think that the reason that that the Fantastic Four are being introduced into the MCU and that Namor were introduced into the MCU and announced around the same time is because we are getting storylines of them together.
Yeah.
I don't think that they would have told us Fantastic Four are coming back and they wouldn't have introduced Namor.
Yeah, it's going to happen. I agree with Sam. It makes as much sense as Deadpool and X-Men. It just fits. So yeah, I think we'll probably see Namor show up in Fantastic Four. So. Unless they give us the complete origin story, then he'll show up later in Fantastic Four. And they'll just focus on.
But at some point, we are going to see him. Yeah, at some point we are going to see him with Fantastic Four. It's going to happen.
Yeah, see that one right there. I mean, especially me coming in as the average fan, so to say, that seems like something that is going to be a huge. Even though you guys are saying it could happen, cinematically, I mean, I feel like that's a huge stretch for.
We said the same thing about him being introduced with a Black Panther narrative. We said, how are they going to make this work in Wakanda? How are we going to see the Prince of Atlantis, who has a completely random storyline that from what we know, with Black Panther? And they delivered.
But equally so, though, prior to them saying that, Black Panther coming out, many people just knew the name. So to introduce Namor in Wakanda for a film and an area that many people did not know of, I feel like it makes sense. We've already had 2 sets of Fantastic Four movies. So therefore, the average fan knows what to expect from Fantastic Four. So for the average fan, introducing Namor into something that they already know, well, why are you changing? That's not, now you're just forcing stuff. As much as I hate saying that, but trying to speak on and be devil's advocate of the average fan, that's going to seem like Marvel's trying too hard now. Unless the story makes sense to it, which at that point, Marvel storytelling can't be rushing this stuff and have to lay the stepping stone.
I agree. That's what I'm saying about. I had that same hesitation when they were talking about.
It's all about the story.
Black Panther. And they did great storytelling there. So yes, they have to do appropriate storytelling, but also it's going to have marketing that leads up to it. They have to have the right news articles coming out. They have to have the right promos coming out that are painting the picture that are going to tell the right story as well. They are going to have to spoon feed it to the audience so that they are excited for it and not like, what the hell, when they get to the movies.
If I'm Marvel, you drop something Namor related with Easter eggs of Fantastic Four. If you go Fantastic Four dropping Easter eggs in Namor, it's going to seem trying too hard. But if you drop Easter eggs in like a Namor show or even a film, if you drop Easter eggs of Fantastic Four, I think it'd be easily more accepted by the average fan versus going Fantastic Four, Easter egg, and Namor.
I get that because that's what they did for Namor. I mean, with the whole small Easter egg of Nick Fury looking at the map. And there's a little dash in the Atlantic Ocean, or there's that scene where Koya talks about the earthquake underneath the water, and she's like, just leave it. Don't worry about it. We'll handle it, or we'll those little hints and stuff like that, hinting about an underwater kingdom and stuff like that. So if there was hints, drop Easter eggs about Fantastic Four. That would be kind of a good preparing people for a tie-in and stuff. I don't disagree with that. It's kind of hard to be in the mindset of the average fan because when you're so exposed to the comic books and stuff, you think in those terms. So I do have to pull myself back, and I agree. I think dropping Easter eggs, hinting at a tie-in, and then delivering it later would be more beneficial for
or you go back to the old school Marvel end credits, the ones that gave you lead offs into what's coming next. I feel recent ones are sometimes the end credits are not always informative, or you give us this end credit and it's like, hey, we didn't know what we were doing with that just yet, but we gave it to you too soon. And I think you don't introduce new characters in end credits because, man, how many actors did we have as Thanos before Thanos became who we know today?
Well, he was CGI when he got first introduced.
Well, he was CGI. His colors changed. His costume changed. Besides his wrinkled chin, there was a lot of things that changed. So I don't think you should introduce new characters in end credit scenes. Or you introduce just names and not the actors portraying them.
Mm-hmm. I actually I think the best introduction they've done was in Civil War when they introduced Peter Parker and T'Challa, because they also got to play a small role in that film and stuff. And I really love how they introduced new characters that way. Yes. It wasn't the main feature, still was the Cap versus Tony, Stark and stuff. But those introductions, that's how you deliver really good cameos and stuff. Yep. So I agree with that. Give them a little bit more screen time. Don't just give us a teaser at the end, and it's a flat. I
mean, you can use Namor and skip the whole origin story of Fantastic Four. I don't think we need it. We didn't need it for Spider-Man, and it worked just fine. I don't think we need an origin story of Fantastic Four.
Here's why I disagree with that, because we've had 20 years of almost 20 years, 2008, of a Marvel universe that have no mention of a fantastic. You can't just pop them in. You have to give us some background, some origin as to why they're now here. what's going, like, where's this coming from? So it's not an origin of how they form, but an origin of where the hell they come from. Why
do we need that in a movie though, or do we just need that in like small little details?
If you can make it work in small doses, you say do that. But I don't know what movies you're going to be able to pull that in outside of. I have a lot of high expectations for Deadpool because they said Deadpool. I mean, he's about to go play around in the multiverse.
Yeah, tons of cameos.
So I think the end of Deadpool is going to give us a lot of those answers about probably, like you said, maybe we don't need origin stories because Deadpool answered a lot of things as to why we're now seeing who we're going to be seeing and stuff. So if they do that right, then yeah, I agree. Otherwise, we're going to need an origin. Why all of a sudden Fantastic Four is here?
I'll give you that. I mean, my favorite origin story or origin Easter egg to this day is Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange being announced in Winter Soldier in a very just, Stephen Strange, and then left it as it is, and like, wait a minute, and then you don't even hear about Doctor Strange movie coming out for a few more years. It wasn't even announced yet, and so to see that little Easter egg in there, to know that's coming, was probably my favorite little. This is coming, and then you already know it's in the timeline, and so I hope that Deadpool does something like that with Fantastic Four.
Okay,
maybe so. Yeah, but going back to Echo though, I think Echo. I hope we get more Marvel content like this, where it's got that dark grunginess. This makes me dislike Secret Invasions just a little bit more, knowing that they had this toolbox they could have used and they didn't use. The toolbox they shouldn't use before I head out real quick. Stop using whatever CG toolbox you're using. Because that was one thing I very much disliked in Echo. The CG was absolute garbage for most of it.
Yeah, I don't disagree. They could definitely do better and take their time. And now that we're on this new trend of slowing down, not just pumping out content after content after content, be more purposeful with what we release, put more resources in those release so we're not just putting out bad stuff. I'm hoping to see the tide kind of change with that. So
that was an interesting spin-off of our Echo conversation, but it was a good conversation to have.
Absolutely. So real quick, this is the year 2024. Anything you're looking forward to this year that's coming out, Marvel?
There's only, as far as big screen, we only have
we have
Deadpool
Sony
3,
Marvels. Right? We have Sony Marvel stuff coming out, as well as the MCU. So we have Madam Web. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not looking forward to Madam Web. No. We have Kraven the Hunter. I'm ish on that. And then
I would probably call him Daddy. Just saying.
We have the new Miles Morales coming out, and then we have obviously the MCU fan favorite Deadpool 3 coming out and stuff.
That's what I'm looking forward to.
Same.
What is the next Disney Plus show we have coming?
For Marvel would be, I don't think it's Agatha.
I would be. I am so geeked for Coven of Chaos.
It might be for.
Are they still called it? Wait, they changed it to Coven of Chaos, right? That's the new working title.
Yeah, they changed it. It might be. I think that might be the Halloween release, but our next show we'll report about what next Marvel Plus content coming out for Marvel Plus. I mean Disney Plus content for Marvel coming out. But
so the next thing we have is X-Men 97, and then we have Agatha Darkhold Diaries.
That's right. They changed it again. They changed it.
So we are getting Agatha.
Then we have Eyes of Wakanda.
Yes.
Okay.
And then we have Marvel Zombies.
Yeah, that's a Halloween special. Yeah.
And then one that was slated for this year, but now is to be announced is Ironheart and Daredevil.
Yes. Daredevil Born Again and then Ironheart. Which Riri Williams, let's get her. So when are they saying when are they saying the release for Darkhold Diaries is?
On that quick website that I clicked on, it just said early 2024. They didn't give me an exact date.
Yeah. I think they're going to give us a launch date at D23 or at the Comic-Con. So,
I mean, I don't know because that's July and August. So that's pushing
September
it.
19th, 2024 is what it is.
Oh, wow. Then, yeah. Then I am super excited for Comic-Con. So we're probably going to start getting our first look. And I would not be surprised we get an updated MCU calendar with the writer's strike and all this hold up with just movies in general and changes. I would not be surprised Comic-Con we get a new updated phase 4, 5, and 6. And just to throw some cherries on there, I would not be surprised if all of a sudden we're looking at phase 7. I would not be surprised if they're like, we have 2 things in the pipeline for season 7 or phase 7.
I do not think we're going to get that because of the statements made about how we need to slow down on producing Marvel content. I think that the phase 5, phase 6 things are going to be pushed out further. And we're going to get less in the time span that we were expecting. And they're going to spread it out over more years.
They have to deal with the Kang dynasty. So I think we're going to get the news about what that's going to look like. If we're proceeding truly going forward, or we're getting a new baddie that Kang was just a foothold for. So
see, and the only reason why I think we're getting a phase 7 is because yes, everyone's already expecting the reworkings, whether it's because of the writer's strike or what the changes with Kang, stuff like that. But you also need a reason to sink your teeth into something juicy and new. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get a title or 2, or even just release dates for phase 7, because if they're just coming to the stage with a reworked calendar, it's going to set a mild image. I think they need something that fans are like, holy shit,
but
what?
The thing is, their
Blade
CEO wants
trailer.
a mild image.
Give me a Blade or red band Blade trailer.
And let me know what the Kang Dynasty is going to look like.
Yeah.
And give me a little bit more of Battle Worlds.
Well, so I want World War Hulk announcement, and I want a Blade red band trailer. That's what I want.
I want to know what's happening with the Kang Dynasty, and I want to know more about Battle Worlds. I want to get a little bit more of a teaser.
I want a season 2 of Moon Knight. I want an announcement.
I think everybody wants that.
Yes,
I want the announcement that the Netflix Punisher is now in the works. And that's the only thing. Oh, there's only 2 things that I'm really like, something that's out of left field that I can't think of that they would say, especially with what you guys. I mean, the Hulk one would be great, but I mean, Moon Knight season 2, or let me know that Frank Castle, the Netflix series with I am blanking his name, but he does the podcast.
Berthal.
John Berthal. You're bringing him back, and you found some crazy reason why old boy from the season 1 villain, well, the main villain in season 1 and 2, you found some way he's not dead, because that actor and that villain was great for that series. I didn't like season 2 as much because I liked Frank Castle's story of not knowing who murdered his family, and I like that chasing that lead every single time. So it's something that ended, but please bring that back. That show was epic.
It was really good. In fact, I want all of those shows except for Iron Fist. Do not give me Iron Fist with that same actor.
Don't give me Iron Fist, and don't give me Defenders. I thought Defenders was more Iron Fist 1.5.
Defenders could have been good.
Yes, I will give you
Iron Fist ruined. Iron Fist tainted everything it touched. So I don't want the discount Peter Quill, which is what they called Iron Fist. I don't think we'll get Jessica Jones in the Disney umbrella. And if we do, it's not the Jessica Jones we want. I do think we can get a very solid Luke Cage. I think they can continue going off that. But as much as I wasn't a fan of Jessica Jones, but I was a fan. Episode by episode, I was in, I was out. But I don't think we'll get that Jessica Jones in the Disney umbrella. Maybe a Hulu umbrella, but probably not a Disney umbrella. Yeah. there's a lot of sexual themes going on in that show and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it was Jessica Jones or if it was Luke Cage where they had the broken bed scene of, I was like, wow, they really.
If I'm not mistaken, that was Luke Cage.
Was that Luke Cage? Okay.
Yeah.
With the Jessica Jones in the bed. I'm like, I still have that image in my head. Like, I'm like, wow, they went full as graphic as you could get and stuff with that.
Yeah. What's crazy is, wasn't those shows first premiered on like CW?
No.
Were they straight to Netflix?
David would not have watched them if they were CW shows. He doesn't mess with CW shows. No. That would be my area, my genre.
Come on, dude. The Shield was great.
No.
Wait a second. Smallville was wonderful.
No, it wasn't.
I loved Smallville.
Oh yes, let's talk about 9 seasons of how you're not Superman, but you are Superman.
Exactly. It was garbage.
Yeah,
I loved it.
I'm not super powerful. I'm so normal.
I had a huge crush on Michael Rosenthal.
I felt like
was Lex Luthor.
I felt like there was like 3 seasons of Smallville, where it was like the same storyline. Like, have you guys not figured this out? When they introduced Lois Lane, I felt like it got really cheesy, and then it kind of got good, but it never got better.
Now, I hate saying this being a comic book head, but they literally wrote those shows for 9-year-olds.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. I was literally like 12, 13 watching them.
So then that makes sense why you love that.
Now, give us that Lex Luthor in the Batman v Superman movie, and give us this Lex Luthor from that, and put him in that show.
No, I loved Michael Rosenbaum as Lex Luthor.
Oh, so did I. That was probably the only good part. I don't know. I had a young fan crush on, forget her name. She wasn't Lois Lane, but it was his girlfriend. I'm blanking the name. Because Lois Lane was obviously the news reporter one. The other girl.
The girl he went to school with.
Yes.
Who he was trying to hide his identity from.
I had the meanest crush on her in junior high school. I had her on my clear covered folder for a hot minute.
Wish I could help you, but yeah.
Anyway, that's a deep cut.
For garbage. With that said, I think we did some justice to Echo. I do apologize to our fans for coming a little bit late, so we owe you that. And we are going to work on delivering some fresh content to you guys in the future here. So please bear with us, as we all have busy lives, but we do love doing this and having the opportunity to geek out with each other and just talk Marvel and sometimes crap on CW. So
feel the pulse in your chest so you know you're alive. One team, one love.
We are now the Tribe.
Yes.